This isn't your granny's bedtime story. Hello, everyone. I'm Rainbow Heart's Villain Thoughts, your friendly neighborhood gay romance novel reviewer, who also is a big sucker for books that are backstories and/or retellings of the villains we both love and hate. Today, I'll be giving a spoiler-free review of the dark and very gay fairy tale retelling of Little Red Riding Hood, written by author T.J. Rose. This book might have the same title as the beloved children's fairy tale, however, this book is a part of the griMM, that's capital MM, book series, meaning male on male romance. Grimm is a book series revisiting beloved fairy tales told by the Brothers Grimm, where the story is not quite how we remember, and each main classic hero is, well, gay. Each book was written by a different author, and as such, the entire series has a different look to it. Each book can be read individually or in order. The connection isn't a massive one, so don't worry if you want to read just one or two. Now, this book is about Little Red Riding Hood. What if Little Red was actually a 20-something-year-old man who starts to fall in love with the big bad wolf? But what if the two's missions in life contradict each other? Well, that's what happens in Little Red Riding Hood. Now, before I go any further with this, I do have to give the content warning and heat level warning for this book. Excuse me, please don't skip this part as it can be a make or break when it comes to a reader enjoying a book. Content warning. This book contains the following: foul language, heated scenes in detail, death of characters, detail of gore in certain scenes, murder, slavery of elves, violence. Viewer and reader discretion is advised, and both this review and the book are intended for only adults. So if you're not over 18, please don't watch this, and please do not read Little Red Riding Hood by T.J. Rose. Again, these are adult gay romance retellings of classic fairy tales, not intended for children. Next up is the heat warning. The heat level for this is 3 out of 5. When it comes to the heat level of this book, it's definitely a 3 out of 5 on the scale, meaning there are scenes of heated adult interaction, however, they are not the main focus of the book, and are only there to add to the romance, not overpower it or the plot. Now, you could honestly put this a 4 out of 5, it depends on what you want when it comes to the heat. Um, the scenes are pretty detailed, and there's like 2 or 3 times something happens. So it's either a 3 or 4 out of 5, honestly. But I think it's kind of a 3 out of 5. Um, so now next up is something I haven't done before, which is setting slash world building. I want to talk about that before we get into further into the book with the typical writing style and theme. Now, the setting of this book is kind of medieval times, back when you had kings and queens and castles and cottages. And this particular book takes place in a specific kingdom. Now, in this world, there are actually two kingdoms, and this one is ruled by the evil queen. Now, the setting itself is pretty interesting because I haven't by far read a book that takes place in such a time period. Most of the books I've read have been modern day or close to modern day. So, this being a book that takes place in medieval times, kind of, is pretty cool, but medieval times in a fairy tale setting slash world, of course. Now, world building was something that was a bit off, you could say. There's nothing really major in this book about the world building. Most of the setting takes place in the woods with I think one town. Um, there isn't much of a vast building of this world, it's kind of more contained, which could be due to the fact that there are other authors in the series of different books that take place in the same world. So they kind of don't want to limit the other authors' is creativity of this world, I guess. Um, and also the fact that the original story of Little Red Riding Hood also mainly takes place in the forest. So, but if you're looking for a vast, massive world building book, this one's not for you. However, if you're looking for um, a kind of compressed world building and setting, then this book is really good for you. If you don't like a massive world where you have to like keep track of different things and systems and stuff, this book is definitely a good book for you. I honestly loved the setting and the world building mechanics of this book. There isn't much of either that's too overpowering. And because of that, I felt really comfortable reading this book and this series. This first part of this series by T.J. Rose. Or the book, this. Now to tone, theme, and emotional impact. Um, so first of all, even though it's not written on there as such, let's go to tone. Sorry. So the tone of this book is very, very fairy tale-ish, but with a dark twist. That's more for adults. You have Red's tone, which is very self-hatred taught to him. You have self-doubts, but a longing to belong and willing to do anything to achieve that goal. Then you have Wim's tone, which is very dedicated to his cause as well, but it's more of a tone of secrecy, love, concern, and desperation for Wim. So those are kind of the tones to this. It's a dark, eerie kind of tone in certain parts. The other parts, it's a very romantic, kind of heated tone. So yeah, those are the tones. Now the theme. The theme is definite. The main theme is again fairy tale retelling. Um, woodsy kind of hunter vibes. Um, but specifically, some of the themes in this book are self-loathing, coming to terms with realizing that we as people don't need the respect or love of others who just want to use us. It's sometimes the best love and respect we can earn is via people who actually see us for ourselves and not what they can gain from us. So, this book definitely challenges the narrative of we have to earn people's respect and love by using Red as an example of someone who is trying to earn the love and respect of his people while none of them have ever done a thing for him. So a lot of people, myself included, probably grew up with the saying, you have to earn someone's respect, you have to earn their love, even if they don't give you anything to earn or respect them in return. It's, you have to do it yourself because it's the polite thing to do, even if they don't give back the same effort to you. And this book definitely challenges that, and I love that. I love that this book challenges that old style teaching. That some of us, especially I know here in the South, we're kind of taught that. And so it's a very good thing. If you weren't taught that, that's fine. I think you'll still enjoy this book. But me personally, I was taught that, and so that kind of challenging that, I really liked that. So, then of course, we have the emotional impact. So the emotional impact of this book was one that really shook me. And sorry if my words are coming out very strange. My nose keeps getting stopped up. I felt almost seen for who I was, just by putting myself into the shoes of Red. As someone who was bullied in school for my looks, among other things, I really understood him, and just wanted to tell him he was amazing just the way he was. Also, that he needed to get over himself and just fall for his companion already. I started this book feeling nervous though, afraid this book would be muddled by, or in turn, muddle my childhood memories with a classic children's tale. However, by the end of the book, I felt more happy than worried, and all my worries proved wrong. This book inspires hope among past hopelessness, and of course, love in the face of loneliness. The emotional impact is one that really inspires to do better. Excuse me. And to find love within oneself. Not just oneself, but again, and those that see you for yourself, not what you can do for them. It's a book that, had me kicking my feet, giggling at times. I was so happy, and other times my heart was pounding. I was like, oh dear Lord, don't let this character die or that character die. Like, oh my gosh. Um, it was. And other times it had me scratching my head like, ooh, what's this? What's that? What's gonna happen here? So, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it a lot. So next up is pacing. So when it came to the pacing of this book, I felt it did a fantastic job. Everything had to do with the overlaying tone, even when it felt like a side plot compared to the main plot. So you do have instances where, Wim runs into two old friends. You have the need, for Red and Wim to help those who are in danger or are being mistreated. And while those seem like they're not necessarily a part of the main story, they fit into the wider story, and the pacing of these subject matters and actions is very good. They're not obsessed over in the book, but they're given enough time to exist to further the book and the story and the plot itself. And the main story itself, the pacing was really good. It felt like, it generally felt like the time they had in the book traveling from point A to the Forbidden Forest and through the Forbidden Forest. I do kind of wish we spent more time in the Forbidden Forest, this place where the main antagonist, or quote unquote antagonist, lives. Um, I wish there'd been more time spent in it. At the same time, I also understand that it was kind of a rushful moment because it was so dangerous. Like, you can't take a second to breathe. Otherwise, you'll wind up a member of the forest forever as bones or something. So I understand that. Um, but honestly, the pacing of this book also had me guessing how the story would end. And instead of really giving anything away, which I really liked, the ending felt well earned and deserved, not just for Red and his wolf, but for the reader as well. Um, I have read books where the pacing is kind of like, you kind of have a feeling how this book will end because the pacing is so rushed that it gives away too much at once, or it's so slow that I just really don't care if the book has, um, what the ending is. I just want to get to it and be done. I didn't experience that with Little Red Riding Hood. I really loved this book's pacing. It was just right, honestly, for me. So I really enjoyed it. Now for one of my favorite parts of these videos, character analysis. And today I will be analyzing Red and Wim. So let's start off with Little Red Riding Hood himself. Red has little to no self-esteem. He was kind of raised to have none, to view himself as ugly and repulsive. He is fiercely loyal to the queen. Excuse me, he's fiercely loyal to the queen of his kingdom, the evil queen, to a fault. He trusts her entirely. He doesn't really question her necessarily. Red is a very experienced hunter. Well, not very, but he's experienced. Um, and a cool little detail, if you probably look at the cover, I think you can see it too. Red has two different eyes. Colors. He has a brown eye, which is ugly due to the queen telling him that, and a blue eye. Um, and despite his upbringing, Red is actually a kind person and wants to help those in need, even though he was kind of raised to not do that by how he was treated. What drives Red, though? Red is driven by his longing to be accepted and wanted by the queen and his fellow subjects. So Red is not a beloved character where he lives, but he wants to be loved and accepted. Even if they've never given him reason to want that. Um, and what about changes? Does Red change? And the answer is yes. He changes from wanting the queen's love to wanting the love and care of a companion, his companion, the wolf shifter, Whim. And he starts to want to belong somewhere else other than the palace. So his whole life he thought he would spend his life in the palace, but as the book goes on, he starts to realize, hey, maybe a life outside the palace wouldn't be that bad. Red is kind of relatable, to those with low self-esteem but big dreams. Those who are searching for a home will also feel relatable to Red. Excuse me, and not just a like physical home, but a home emotionally, wanting to belong somewhere, and seeing yourself in the eyes of the person you love or people who love you. That's kind of like Red's journey. Now we're going to go to Whim, whose full name is Wilhelm Wim Hoffman. He is a wolf shifter, meaning he is a human who can turn into a wolf. He has wolf instincts, great smell, great tracking, ferocious strength. He's not a werewolf. He doesn't change by the moon or anything like that. He's able to transform whenever he wants into a wolf. Um, Whim is the opposite of Red. He's full of a lot of self-esteem and determination. He's not driven, or sorry, he cares ferociously about those who are around him, um, that he cares about. Now, if you're someone Ren doesn't care about, he may not really, if you're around him, he's kind of going to ignore you. But if he cares about you, he's going to care about you ferociously. He's going to be there to protect you and care for you, especially if you're with him at that moment. Whim is a protector, and he really wants to protect and look after Red. So, also, unlike Red, who's kind of petite and weak, Whim is very big and very strong. Now, what drives Whim? So, Whim has a curse, and he's driven to break that curse and return to his pack. It is his life's mission in the book. So he is also driven by the love for Red, even if he can't tell him at first. So, Whim starts to fall for Red when he meets him, and Whim is driven to protect his little Red. But he doesn't flat out tell Red at first this because he's afraid how Red will react. But those two things are the driving force for Whim. Whim doesn't really change, except he is able to more freely show his love and affection for Red. And I think Whim is relatable to those who view themselves kind of as the protector of those they love, those who are, searching to protect someone who is a defender. And again, definitely protector of your companions or loved ones. Kind of think of a knight. I say Wim kind of fits that, except Wim doesn't have the honor of a knight. And that's probably relatable to a good bit of people. So, next up is the strength and weaknesses of this book. So, we always start off with strengths first, and then we go to weaknesses. So, strengths. This is a solid story, definitely. I feel the story was really solid, due to writing and being a more mature and gay version of a beloved book from our childhoods. So, this book, the plot again is very there. The pacing is good. Like, this is a pretty solid book. Um, and the groundwork's already there because, you know, not everyone, but a good bit of people know the story of Little Red Riding Hood in some way or form. So this is a book that already has a path made for it. It's just an adult version, and I really liked that. The characters were very strong and believable. I felt Red and Wim were really strong. Um, and they were very believable um throughout the entire book. So then we have the world building. Now, as I said, the world building is not exactly massive, but for what it is, I felt it was really good and believable. Like, I felt I was in the Forbidden Forest when they were there. I felt like I was there in the woods. Um and I loved it. Now, there's a heart-wrenching twist you have to read for yourself, but I loved it. It added more depth to Red's character and more depth to the book. And I really like that a lot. Now for weaknesses. Um, some of the wording felt out of place, not fitting the older style book setting. So despite the fact this book takes place in like fairy tale medieval time, there's some wording that feels more modern, and some wording that just doesn't feel like it fits the setting, honestly. So that was the only issue I had with the book. The only weakness I could find was that. Another pro I wanted to talk about that I didn't have written down was this book already sets up a connection to 3 other books in the series. I won't say what they are, but yeah, 3 other books are set up in this story. Uh Not set up, but the characters are mentioned or setting is mentioned, so that's pretty cool. Alright, now time for my final thoughts on the book. This isn't the end of the video, but the final thoughts on the book itself. Overall, this was a good read, I feel. It was a really good read. One that I was a bit excited to read at first, but fell madly in love with as I read. I further liked it as I continued reading. The characters, the plot, the romance, and even the realistic self-doubt were astonishing. I feel like they really popped and were brought to light in an amazing way. Um, so overall, it was a very good book and one I'd love to reread someday. I'm not a big rereader, but I would really love to reread this book one day. So, my rating. Without a shadow of a doubt, I would give this book a strong 4.5 Rainbow Hearts. So I really loved it. It wasn't perfect, but it was good. It was really good. So, recommendation. If you're looking for a steamy, gay retelling of a childhood classic without it being weird or flat out wrong, then this book is for you. If you're looking for a realistic main character with heavy baggage and a loving, burly companion madly in love with the main character, then you're most definitely going to love this book. However, if you're going into this book expecting a majority of the book to be like the fairy tale classic, then you're going to be disappointed, I'm afraid. It's based off of it, but it's not like there is no Granny in the Woods or stuff like that. Um, that being said, this is the end of the video. Thank you so much for coming out and watching the video and enjoying it if you did. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Like the video, comment on the channel, on the video. Is this a book you're interested in reading? Are you interested in A Little Bit of Writing Code by TJ Rose? Or is this a book you're going to put down? And are you interested in dark retellings of classic fairy tales? As if so, you're going to love this series. Um, anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next Friday. Bye!